We're debating a motion from the bloc today, which, so if the bloc will indulge me, I'm going to go all over the immigration system to different parts because I want to indict the former immigration minister, who's now the housing minister, on his performance. And having now heard the current immigration minister, I see that we're basically repeating the same mistakes of the past. We've gotten to a point where many Canadians are emailing me, calling me, direct messaging me. There are more articles being written about people's confidence in the integrity of the immigration system. And is it delivering on the expectations of Canadians? And that's, I think, the substance of the motion that the Bloc has put forward, which is are we achieving our goals through the immigration system? Many members know this. I'm an immigrant. I came to Canada in 1985. My kids are all born in Calgary. I've lived in different parts of Canada at different times. And when I look at our immigration system today, it is not the promise. It's not fulfilling the promise it did decades ago for immigrants who are landing here. And when you look at the immigration system as it functions right now, and I've had these exchanges with the immigration minister now, it's telling when you have a summer cabinet retreat about housing, and then you confront the immigration minister because you're trying to hold him accountable for those same numbers, and he can't even answer the basic question of how many construction workers have they brought in this year so far, last year, the year before that, and doesn't know, and then makes a ridiculous claim like he's not the minister of knock codes. Well, that's the number one way of tracking immigrants who come to Canada, is what type of occupations they're in. We have an entire database system at Statistics Canada which tracks exactly that one important statistic. What occupation do you have? What occupation are you in? And then as you get more seniority, like what type of occupation classification is it? And it's, in a lot of ways we say this, and even the Minister of Immigration alluded to it. The Minister of Immigration in this country is also responsible for jobs, because a lot of immigrants who come here want to work. We want to make a contribution to the country that has greeted us, has become our new home. And not to have that number is a real indictment. And the previous immigration minister, when he became housing minister, then expressed a great deal of regret. And I want to talk about international students first, and I'll go to the Federal Skilled Trades Program, the Federal Skilled Worker Program as well. But on international students, we have almost record numbers of international students who are going to Canadian institutions. Some of them are going to U15, U21, going to get postgraduate degrees. We're not so much concerned about their experience in Canada, although it is much more difficult finding a place to live, and with the cost of living as it is today, what they're being told from their country of origin when they come to Canada, how much funds they will need annually just to get by is very, very different. But then you have a lot of these plaza colleges that are not providing an opportunity. First of all, many international students who come to Canada have a desire to seek a postgraduate work permit to continue making a contribution in the workplace. But now you have stories upon stories where people are living under bridges. You have stories of people struggling and going to food banks. Canadians, but also international students. I don't think these international students expected to have to go to a food bank when they came to Canada. So during the summer, the now former immigration minister, current housing minister, then said, it wasn't his fault. It's an uncapped program, and therefore it's a limitless amount of applications could be accepted. Don't look at him. It wasn't him. He wasn't responsible for 2.5 years. We've reached a point today because of him. That housing minister, when he's immigration minister, just didn't pay attention to his file. And the same thing, now we can go to the Federal Skilled Trades Program. The primary way to bring in construction workers should be this program, a program that even the OECD has criticized as not being the expectation. And the correct number is 80. Last time I checked, the September number was 80. That's how many construction workers had been brought to Canada. Now, there are other programs that construction workers can make it in. And again, the previous now housing minister, who says that we need construction workers to come from elsewhere, we need to train them in Canada, we need to find people who want to retrain, so we can there's a zoning problem, there's a construction problem, we know we have the least amount of construction permits being issued, but we need construction workers, people in residential construction who want to build homes. We're not bringing those people in anyway. In fact, when you look at the numbers generated by the previous immigration minister when he was there, over 7 years worth of construction workers, that's how much in 2 years we've brought in retail supervisors. Where were his priorities of the previous immigration minister? Where were his priorities in the immigration system? What was he focused on? Why didn't he pay attention to this? He saw the numbers coming. He saw it and said, that is not my job. That's literally what the immigration minister just told me when I asked him a very specific question about 2 immigrant service centers in Calgary who provide frontline services to government-assisted refugees. And unlike what the minister said, that is his responsibility. There are resettlement dollars being provided by the federal government expressly for this purpose. You can't download that to the provinces. I think this is a commonality that hopefully the Bloc will agree with me. You can't download that service onto a province and expect them to just, make it happen. He said, not his job. That's not his responsibility. In fact, after they met with the Minister of Immigration, they came to see me because they were shocked at the answer they got. So I did get the feedback on how that meeting went. And so I find it just galling that we'd have an immigration minister who would say, the current one, who would say, not my problem, not my fault. Previous immigration minister says, after looking at the numbers, I have now regrets, and had a bunch of ideas that he floated out and then left it to his replacement to try and figure out what was going on. Like, we know how bad it is. Like, I have a document, its header is International Students, Repatriation for Sudden Deaths. That's how bad it's gotten. Repatriation for sudden deaths. It's been circulated by the World Sikh Organization, who I met with many months ago, who provided me this document of a crematorium and funeral home in Brampton that's had to create a document specifically for international students, because that's how bad it's become. The number of suicides in that community has risen greatly. And this is just one of them. This is just one of those documents. And it goes on in quite a bit of detail to help these families have their loved ones return to their country of origin. That is the immigration system. These 2 immigration ministers, 2 housing ministers, it's hard to follow which title they prefer now, have left us with today. Maintenant, de retour un peu sur la motion que le Bloc, bien sûr, a déposée.
Coming back to the document before us, we have a system today that has a backlog of 2.2 million cases. We were always told that there would be an online portal that would bring the number of applications in the backlog down, but it hasn't gone down. It was 2.2 million last year and 2.2 million again this year. It was 1.9 million just before the pandemic. And so the backlog has been in the millions for years. People have been waiting for a yes or a no from the government for years. And many of those people are already here working. They could be here as students, and they're just trying to change their status from temporary to permanent. So they're in a precarious situation. It's hard to live your life here in this country when you have to wait year after year after year and call on your MP for assistance. All our riding offices are overwhelmed by calls from people who are having problems with Immigration Canada. There are more and more people, 144% more than in 2013. So at the EX level or management level, there are tons of people waiting for this kind of application to get processed. So I'll be supporting the Bloc's motion, and I'd be delighted to take any questions.